Sure. Yeah, I'm recording on this computer. Um, oh yeah, Luke, I guess the thing on this one is we don't really have an obscenity rule, but we don't do it often. But if you want to drop a bomb, I guess you can. We've done it before. It's
Sure.
not it's so I, yeah, it's less not as Twilight Zone. I put a censor in. Or I don't. There's been a few times I just didn't bother because I was lazy.
Cool.
Okay.
Hmm.
You guys, wait, did we already hit record? I forget.
I hit record
Yes.
because I had to find a new place to hit it because usually I have these set
Oh,
up just to when I start the meeting, it starts recording. With this one, I didn't do
oh,
that. So because I
how
didn't
about that?
schedule the meeting. Well, it's because I didn't schedule the meeting. That's why.
Double check.
How about that?
Oops, did I mute myself? I didn't do that.
Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about Space 1999. I'm your host, Mark, in the space warp.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna call myself a space warp. I also like how you just
No,
jumped
you
around in
are
the
the
episode
space
with
warp.
no warning at all. Space warp Matt. That's what I'll go
Well,
by.
that's the kind of episode this is, right?
Mm-hmm. Brian
And
at your
I'm
cue.
Brian.
I said your name before you did.
And with us, special guest Luke Summerhayes.
Howdy, partners. How's it going?
Yeah, he's here all the time, except in different
Pretty good.
form from our Films and
Yep.
Filth podcast, which you should listen to if you want to hear us talk about what are supposed to be really good and really bad movies. Of course,
But
today we're talking about really weird hours of TV.
this is different because Luke has never been subjected to one of these episodes of this show before. And if you were asking yourself, Luke, does the episode title always fit the episode so poorly? The answer is usually.
Yeah, we're kind of throwing you in on the deep end or the stupid end on this one. This is not like the episode you would show to somebody for a first time, probably, but that's why it was fun to put it on for you for a first time.
I mean, the episode was called Space Warp and it did feature a space warp, so
I didn't have a problem with the title.
It's just that was the B plot, and also
yeah.
that we didn't spend a lot of time with it, and also it was just sort of. It's like if you, I don't know, if you took the movie Speed and you called it Highway. It's like the space warp was just a place, was just a direction that people went in, but that,
In Norway, it's called fart speed, I mean.
Oh, I thought you were going to say space warp was called fart. Yes, I've seen the poster. It's great.
Yesterday I went to Moomin Village and one of the things you go and they show like a slightly augmented short animated film and that one ends on the final scene. It's like this like cute love story thing, and then on the screen it just says slut, which I guess is how
Oh
you
yeah.
say the end and
Yeah, I've
finish.
seen I've seen people share the end of Finding Nemo with that as well.
Yeah, that, you know what they say, every Swedish film ends with a slut.
It seems it does. Okay, so I knew that coming in um to, to this.
Oh.
So how was your
Anyway.
first experience? I guess we just have to ask for first impressions for funsies.
Yep.
It took me back to when we used to do the Sci-Fi Sanctuary, and every now and then you would make me watch a really slow, dry sci-fi movie from like the 70s. And it's like it was I mean, I grew up watching Doctor Who, so I'm fine with big stupid rubber monsters. I loved that. It's just the pacing is so slow compared to anything that gets made today. And because we've only been watching, like, none of our bad films have been in that sort of mediocre zone. And then all of our good films have been, for the most part, at least well made. So I'm so out of practice with watching something this slow.
Yeah, we haven't had the oldest bad movie we've had, so quote unquote bad movie we've had so far is from like 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is definitely different. This was a very expensive TV show. I think the most expensive British TV show at the
Yeah,
time,
I think it
if not
was.
the most expensive show period.
Although we are
It was up
looking a
there.
little more at season one when we say those stats, I believe, because that's when the Italian
Yeah.
money was in there. That's when it
Uh,
more resembled like, Star Trek, the motion picture, those TV show that's not Star Trek, or
Mm.
like a 2001 sort of TV show.
Yeah, a
And
2001 vibe.
this season gets weirder and weirder. I guess weirder is the best word, sure.
Yeah,
in lower and lower budget, I think, in some respect. Although there's quite a few effects in this one, which is one of the reasons I kind of personally liked it when I was a kid.
Oh
'cause
yeah,
there's
you flashed trippy
lots of
lights in
stuff
front of me
happening
for
in
a
this
while,
one,
and I'm
yeah.
good to go.
this feels like the war games of this season, where it feels like someone has decided, maybe someone with a writing credit has decided that this is the big important episode. This has felt more like that than any other episode this season, at least.
Is that how you delve into trivia?
I suppose. This was 16th in production order for season 2. It was filmed simultaneously with last week's A Matter of Balance, which is why Martin Landau, Tony Anholt, and Catherine Schell have very limited screen time. Conveniently, Maya is almost always someone else. This episode reused several sets and effects shots from recent episodes, but also the alien ship contains 2 nacelles from the model of the Enterprise from Star Trek. Also, this episode was the last to get an original score, although some of the music was then inserted into the beta cloud first during post-production, and it also reuses a track from The Tabor. Footage from this episode might have gotten the most views from being used in Rush's 1984 video Distant Early Warning. I watched it. It is fine. It's Rush.
Not the
It's
best
80s
period for Rush, though.
Not the best period, but you know, they were rocking it. They were doing their best.
What shots did they use?
The part where basically when you see the ship going through the space warp, the eagle going through the space warp, like later on in the episode, that sort of kicks off the video. And
Not the dumb rubber monsters.
No, you're right. No, they were
mistake.
just using the space warping. Our first time director this episode is Peter Medak, born in Hungary in 1937. He fled to England at the age of 18 and worked his way up through the British film industry as an editor and then assistant director, and then went on to have a successful and long career as a director. He is responsible for a section of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. He directed Zorro the Gay Blade, Romeo's Bleeding, Species 2, and 1 episode each of The Wire, Breaking Bad, House, Carnival, and Tales from the Crypt, as well as 7 episodes for the 1980s Twilight Zone. He'll be back for 1 more Space 1999 episode. The primary writing credit once again goes to Fred Freiberger under the pseudonym Charles Woodgrove. This will be the final episode of the series credited to him, but of course we'll continue to see his input on the show moving forward. Our main guest star this week, playing both the ill-fated Captain Duro and the Maya transformation of a male Psychon, which might have supposed to have been Mentor, but I wasn't really sure.
I wrote fake Brian Blessed in my notes.
Yeah, I think he kind of was supposed to be fake Brian Blessed.
I call him Budget Brian Blessed. Yeah.
Budget Brian Blessed, the 3 Bs. Andrew Lodge, born in Tasmania to a Swedish mother, he has a rather short and mostly British filmography. You can see him in The Beast Must Die, She-Wolf of London, and Conduct Unbecoming. I have no information about his later life, but he last appeared on screen in 1992. As Petrov, we have Peter Porteous, or possibly Porteous. He was born in 1930 in the UK and trained at the Central School of Speech and Drama and made his debut on stage in 1960 opposite Peter Sellers, Lionel Jeffries, and Leo McKern. That led to a long on-screen career. You can catch him in Life Force, Soldier's Revenge, and Octopussy. His last credit was in 1987's The Living Daylights, and he passed away in 2005. Living Daylights, one of the first videotapes I rented. Anyway.
I started playing cello because of The Living Daylights.
Oh, nice. Yeah, they stopped
because they
bullets.
ride down the hill in a cello case, and then the next week at school they asked everybody, what instrument do you want to play? So I was like, well, I just saw the cello go down a mountain, so I said that.
That's great. My first and second choice was trumpet and drums, and third choice was violin because that was the deal I made with my mom, and I was stuck with violin. So anyway, ditched that after school.
I told my parents I wanted to play guitar, and they said, well, learn the recorder first. And if you stick with that, we'll buy you a guitar. And I didn't stick with it because the recorder is boring.
Mm.
I think the recorder is almost like a war crime. That's like one of the worst things. I know it can be used. It can be used effectively, but it's just by itself, it's the worst thing. Kind of like harmonica, same deal. You need augmentation.
Bass harmonica is even worse.
Is that the one your dad plays?
Well, he plays lots of harmonicas. I don't know if any of them are bass or not.
Does he play them at the same time, like on a big stick?
That'd be a good
Them all
idea.
grafted to a stick. That's some of the first thing I think of. Anyway, playing security guard number 1 is Tony Asoba. He was born in Glasgow, Scotland in 1947 and was a very familiar face to British TV audiences. You can catch him in Can We Get On Now, Please? Give Us a Break and The Demon Headmaster. He's still with us, but his last credit was in 2016. Security guard number 2 is played by John Judd. He's a British actor, also born in 1947, and you can catch him in Boogie, Outlaws, Chucklevision, and Scum. Unlike our
Chucklevision.
Chucklevision.
Chucklevision. Chucklevision.
Oh my god, that's awesome that you know the theme song Chucklevision.
The Chucklevision is the Chuckle Brothers TV show.
Okay.
They're just two brothers who did slapstick comedy for like decades. They did the last thing I think they did before one of them passed away. They were brought back to do an advert for Hitman in the UK.
Oh, wow.
So they did this like live event for like, they brought in influencers and stuff, and the Chuckle Brothers, where they had like a bunch of actors in a mansion and an Agent 47 that they could like direct.
That's
Like
awesome.
playing the game in real, and it's these two like
Okay.
northern slapstick guys being like, "Oh, hit her with a brick."
That rules. You can probably tell
Amazing.
my shtick is generally I just say the titles of things that are fun to say.
Mhm.
Unlike our other guest stars, he will be back one more time on Space 1999, reprising the role of security guard number 2 in the episode Dorzak. Anyway,
I was really hoping you could say in the episode Security Guard number 2.
that would be great. Yeah, we don't get a lot of
about someone that
recurring
doesn't
actors.
matter much.
The rubber suit guy has shown up a lot. He's like, but he's a stuntman.
Mhm.
It's great work if you can get it. Except it's probably hot in the rubber suit.
Yeah, and Martin Landau makes fun of you.
I'm sorry, did you finish? Was that the end?
Yes, end of trivia.
I was kind of disappointed you didn't like mangle any British place names while Luke was here.
I like saying things correctly sometimes.
Everyone was like from Hungary and stuff. Was that what you said? Romania? One of those.
The director was from Hungary.
Okay,
He's
there,
actually,
right.
I've heard of the director before, actually. This
Well,
is
yeah,
one of
you
the
just
rare
named
cases.
several things that people know, so that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Species 2.
I will give you a story. Species 2 is supposed to be better than Species 1, right?
Yeah, it's
I've heard that.
respectable. It's a respected sequel.
Okay.
Most of my
as-
knowledge of Species is my uncle had it on his shelf, and my whole family found it very funny that I pronounced it Spec Eyes.
Spec
Wow.
eyes. Here's a story for you. While Commander Koenig and Tony take an Eagle out to explore a derelict alien craft, Maya comes down with a fever as Moonbase Alpha falls into a very psychedelic space warp. With Alpha now 5 light years away, Alan Carter takes charge to deal with the new problem. Since Maya is a metamorph, her fever is causing her to shapeshift into a series of increasingly insane monsters, all hell-bent on returning to her home planet Psychon. While the Alphans deal with this issue, Koenig and Tony discover tech on the alien ship that will allow them to fall into the same space warp as Alpha and reunite with them. They manage this feat just as the Alphans calm down Monster Maya, get her into sickbay, and she reverts to normal, boring Maya.
So, right up top, why isn't Maya this effective when she's helping the Alphans? Like, holy crap.
Well, maybe her powers are
You
increasing.
play
'cause
video games, Mark. You know the boss is more difficult when you're fighting them than when you get to have them on your team.
Like how when Lance Vance is helping you in Grand Theft Auto Vice City, he's like completely useless and he keeps dying. And then when you have to fight him, he is a murderer all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Well, that he was fooling you all along. That's what was happening.
He was fooling me by dying a lot.
Right.
fooling
And
me by-
so he could kill you later. But although I would say over the course of the season, her transformations have been becoming, like more effective, because at the beginning she turned into a tiger and it was useless. Last week she turned into a monkey and it worked out really well. So it seems.
I mean, it seems like anytime that she does something that works out well, it happens really quickly so that they could stop filming the tiger or whatever it is.
It works or it doesn't, like instantly. That's right.
I find
yeah,
it
if it's-
interesting that her 1 hour limit is only mentioned in Charles Woodgrove scripts and not in anybody else's, apparently.
Well, also, that wasn't mentioned at the beginning when they were afraid that she was gonna like die or something. I was like, or afraid she was gonna stay a creature forever. I had in my notes like there's an hour limit, but they don't mention the hour limit until it turns into a thing where she's outside on the moon and might die.
No, they did when
Yeah,
when
they
they were going
mentioned
to
it
do the
once before.
surgery. He was
Oh,
like, "Well,
did
can't
they?
you just wait? There's an hour limit, so you can just do surgery when she turns back." And the doctors are like, "She doesn't have 15 minutes."
Oh, well, sorry, retracted. My bad.
Yeah, I wrote,
I
should
missed
Maya
it.
change back after an hour? Question mark. Ah, Alan remembers. But then, like, you can't just force someone to change, you know, which is what Helena is doing.
I mean, you probably could, but they probably just don't have the thing that they need to
she
make
doesn't
her
have the
change.
awesome drug to do it.
All
yeah.
of this kind of hand waves over the fundamental issue with her being a metamorph and changing her entire body at will. So presumably wounds would go away when she turned back into herself. She
Or
should
maybe
ship back
she
to her original healthy self, right?
maybe she goes rogue and just metamorphs into somebody with a huge flesh wound that dies immediately.
Mm.
What if that happened?
Well, she also has this ability to go from one being to the next when it was kind of implied that maybe she needed to go back to herself first and
Yep.
then go to the
Yep,
next
that
one.
was implied and it was thrown out the window.
I
It's
am
like,
wondering if
wait.
they really should drop her off of the next space pad, you know, like a station, like hip intergalactic space station. Because at the end she's like, I'm dangerous. And then oh no, you're not dangerous anymore. But she's gonna be dangerous again next time she gets sick. Apparently she gets sick and turns into a raging monster. Because I thought maybe that alien ship was somehow affecting her, or the space
So
warp was somehow affecting her, but it seems
that
no,
was
no,
going
it's
to be my main criticism of this episode. It needed one more pass at the script to tie the A and B plots together because they're
Yeah.
completely unrelated.
Yes. Yes, I thought for sure it was gonna even I thought that for sure
I thought the space warp
caused
was
something.
somehow causing something to happen to her. Like, yeah.
And
The book tried to cover that a little. They were implying that that area of space may have just had effects on her psychon mind because they were, you know how they said at the beginning the ship just appeared in their third quadrant, whatever that is. It's like, well, doesn't the moon just kind of approach things? Things don't just appear. It's like, oh, there's something, the planet ahead. We're getting close to it. So it just sort of appeared, and I guess the writer took that as like, well, maybe the ship itself and there's space warps, time warps. I can't even talk straight. Going on, and this may have somehow affected Meyer, but that's about, again, they didn't really cover it. Like Luke said, it didn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah, this season in particular, the scripts could probably use another pass because they're being sent from the UK to ITV in New York City to be, you know, confirmed or whatever, and then sent back. So there's like, once all that has happened, you've now lost the time and ability to go over it one more time.
Oh, interesting.
I mean,
Wouldn't
what
be
if
as much of an issue today.
Exactly, especially because
No.
the guy writing this one is technically the showrunner at this point. So you'd think he'd be
he's
able
very much the showrunner. I mean, he's
to push a
his
little more weight.
technical yeah, his technical his job title is script supervisor and producer. But
Well, he gets the freeze frame, doesn't he?
he's doing the stuff that Martin Landau was basically doing in the first season. And, well, and Jerry Anderson, Martin Landau for the most part, and Sylvia had, I'm sure, a lot.
Yeah, I think Sylvia had some input in there.
Yeah, I will be interested to ask what Jerry was even doing this season. Not like I'm calling him lazy or something. I'm just curious if it's like a Roddenberry thing where he's like barely involved with the later seasons of the show.
I mean, it sounds like he was in a post-divorce hell. Probably.
Oh, okay.
He's
He's
probably
in
that's my
post-divorce hell.
educated guess.
Right.
He's off in a post-divorce hell. He had a guy who wasn't afraid to do the things. Like that's one thing you have to give Freiberger credit for. He's not afraid to just take charge and be like, you know what, I'll write this episode. My name is Charles Woodgrove.
One more pass on the script, this would have been a decent one because the last two he wrote, we were kind of like, this is hot garbage, you know? Where this one's not hot garbage, it could have used another pass for sure.
Yeah.
But
I didn't think the beta cloud was like terrible. It was.
I guess I'm thinking of Luton. He wrote that, right?
You're thinking of Luton. Luton.
I'm thinking of
garbage.
Luton. Okay.
Luton was one of the worst episodes of anything I've ever seen.
That was the Woodgrove trilogy right there, and it always involves two people having a problem, fighting it somewhere while everybody else is gone.
Although Luke, that one had 3 rubber monsters all next to each other, so that was a plus. But otherwise,
this one only had 2.5 rubber monsters in this.
At
They were
different
all
times.
I'm counting Mentor as half a
outside.
monster.
Yeah, they were all outside in the studio lot, so it looked bad. Like, just rubber monsters work better on a set where you can, light them properly. I don't know.
Mm.
If this was fine. This episode was fine. The space warp was cool, even though maybe the camera didn't have to spin out 900
Yes, it did.
degrees. Okay, fine.
Okay, somebody clearly got a hold of a fancy new camera rig and had to try it out where they put the spin the camera.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're even able to. I think cameras were really big back then.
That was still a big deal in like TNG era because there was like one shot in an episode where a shuttlecraft was out of control and they used a camera like that to show it spin 360, and they said, yeah, we had to go through heck to get that special camera mount to do that. And so like 10 years earlier it would have been even more special, I guess. Especially like if the cameras are bigger.
I mean, I will say the model work here, and obviously it's Jerry Anderson, so this isn't surprising. Look great. Like, you got ships taking off and crashing inside the hangar and stuff.
That was
cool. I don't, even TNG's not giving you much of that like dynamic spaceship stuff on the level that this does.
I do not normally go into IMDb reviews on this show, Luke, but there was one person, there was one positive review this episode where they said I rated this a 10 just because the Eagle model work was so good. And I kind of agree. It is very good. I think it's one of the only, there is some stuff in this episode that doesn't appear in any other season 2 episode. Like, I think airlocks don't really appear in season 2.
This is the only time we see the hangar, isn't it?
I think there's one other time, but it might be a different episode we haven't done yet.
Well, no, we do see it in the first episode, Breakaway, and he talks to Carter for the first time. He's in that area because out the window you can see the Eagles moving around. So they did have that model back then, but and maybe in Earthbound, I think maybe they brought the Caldorian ship. What was his name? Captain Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Captain Christopher Lee.
I think they brought his big blue ship down there at one point. But it's been seen a couple of times, not enough in my
I guess
opinion.
this had the most action going on because what you mentioned were a couple like walk and talks where this is, like they're dynamic, right? So
so all the Eagles are gone now, right? They all blew up in this episode.
So
there's no
I
more
watched
Eagles.
this episode on YouTube, and one of the top comments was like, if there ever is a moon base, remind me to invest in the company that makes Eagles, because they seem to have an infinite supply of them.
Yeah, I think we've had more. We had more in season 1. The opening credits start with an eagle blowing up. Like, literally,
you can't count that every week, Mark.
Oh, but I can though, because every credit sequence has like footage from that week's episode. So what if that's just the eagle that blew up this week?
That's why I assumed they were towing the ship back at the alien ship back at the end of the episode. It's like, hey, here's a bunch of scrap metal we can make some new Eagles with.
That's nothing.
How they're going to get it down to the surface.
They got that whole ship graveyard with the Tabor and Brian the Brain.
They really should have been harvesting every derelict ship they find, but we haven't seen any evidence that they do. Maybe some spaceships sitting outside on the base, like Gwent. They can probably harvest Gwent's wreckage and all this other stuff out there.
Yeah. Well, it's, everything is compatible, apparently. You can just hook your computer up to anything. It's like just like Independence Day.
Yeah, the airlock matched perfectly, and then they hooked up the computers, which I assumed was like the show telling us this was an Earth ship, but no.
No, that has happened more than you would. Well, maybe not more than you would think. Shows like this do that a lot. But that's happened a few times. But we've also had stuff like,
come back next week.
A few weeks ago, AB Chrysalis, which is so far my favorite episode of the season, had a thing where like there was an elevator that took the eagle down. It was exactly eagle sized.
Well, there's happy coincidences. Yeah, I did like the computer interface, which seemed to be a bunch of film canisters like that were loosely sitting on a table.
35 millimeter film canisters.
Reminded me of the Fortress of Solitude computer with the little crystals.
Yeah.
But for honestly, less money, the budget version of that.
Well, how do you guys feel about our one guest star? I kind of liked the the decision to make him just whisper the entire time. It was creepy.
No, I hated that.
And
That
you didn't like it?
No,
Huh.
that was like
It's like bad
creepy.
ASMR.
You'd
I didn't
rather have
care
a
that he's dying.
Tabor.
I'd much rather have the Tabor. Yeah.
Oh,
What do
Make
you
it-
need to do?
I did not know
Wait,
he was
what?
the guy who played the budget Brian Blessed, though, and that's interesting. I didn't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the same actor.
I
mean,
think I kind
I-
of worked that out from
it was
UC's
a
eyes.
it was a weird
So-
thing where they were far enough away from his face that you couldn't tell it was a human face behind the mask, and they just kept going in closer and closer to you to the point where you couldn't possibly miss that it was a human guy.
Yeah, I never knew the guy had a mustache until I saw it in high def. I was, oh, okay, yeah, I've never seen him this clearly before. And I didn't realize that, the top of his head was probably supposed to be his head, right? He's supposed to be a bald, blue-headed alien. But they
Don't
put
know.
that grasshopper helmet. They call him the grasshopper alien sometimes because of that helmet. He looks
Uh-huh.
like a grasshopper. But you're too
I
caught up in the
don't
helmet and his
recognize.
whisper to notice these things.
Well, it's
Yeah.
interesting you say grasshopper because to me that looked very like Kamen Rider Power Rangers type
Mhm.
helmet.
Yeah,
Yep.
it actually, it has more of a
They get
perhaps a-
buggy
a
a lot of the time,
Japanese,
especially the Kamen Rider ones.
Yeah, that's why I said.
All right.
Yeah, that's literally the point
Yeah,
I was making.
Kamen
Matt.
Okay.
Did you see?
I
did you
tied
see Shin
together-
Kamen
Kamen
Rider?
Rider? Have you seen Shin Kamen Rider yet?
No, not yet.
It's just wall to wall bugs. It's wall to wall bugs. It's like if you
Yeah.
like bugs, see that movie right away.
I should also throw in that my Kamen Rider is literally what I saw out of the corner of my eye at the main school
Same.
TV. Okay. Oh, that's all you got. Okay, just curious.
Although recently, friend of the show, Stuart, who was on a couple of our episodes, he's gotten mega into Kamen Rider and watched like every possible season of it in a year. So I've seen a bunch of it
Man.
secondhand through his Twitter.
That's dedication because I had a hard time watching. I had a hard time watching all this '90s Star Trek. I mean, that was like 2 series. Yeah. Well, okay, that's 14 seasons.
Oh,
Back
I
to
guess
back,
you're
but
not
still.
counting TNG. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, I watched that when it came out, and I
Yeah.
watched it again like many years ago. But
I was wondering in this one with the grasshopper Kamen Rider alien. I was, is this going to be some weird duplicity? Like, use our stuff, we'll steal your ship. And then I looked at the running time. I was like, we got 5 minutes left. So this is going to work. The timer says it's going to work. That's, just like the last time. Maya's going to change because there's only 3 minutes left in the episode.
it reminds me of a character from Undertale named Undyne, who's like a angry fish woman. Who's like
Okay, yeah,
six
The
sword-
helmet.
Yeah. Yep. But I mean,
The one that the scientist Triceratops is in love with her.
yes, it's really hard you have to date her, and it's really hard. Like you have to do a lot of work. Like you have to almost kill her and then give her a glass of water when she wanders into the hot area, and then do a cooking thing. Yeah. But you have to, or you won't get the good ending. I've said way too much. I hope nobody got spoiled from
It's amazing how much I don't know what you're talking about.
I have no
I mean,
idea what you're talking about. Yeah.
you should play it, Matt. You should play it, Brian. I don't know if you play RPGs, but Matt, you should play that game. But give yourself like 5 or 10 hours.
In a system.
Well, you want to play it on PC?
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's not
Or
going to
Yeah,
happen.
emulator.
it's like a little indie game. It's you can play on anything.
Okay.
It's better to play. More spoilers. It's better to play it on PC because it does
Yes.
things like closing the window to fuck with you. I'm sorry. Wow, I'm the one who cursed.
You've done it before.
Well, we don't have a curse
I don't
sound
believe
effect.
you.
What's your curse sound effect for this podcast? We don't
There
have
isn't one. I don't actually list it as clean.
Just like put in.
Fuck my
like Mark-
cunt, you shittard.
Yeah, that's okay because I don't list this as a clean podcast.
put in Martin Landau screaming. Over it.
What was
Or
like?
some Barbara Bain ADR that she's really high pitched in.
Yeah, the worst. Some of the there's some bad ADR this season, and this is definitely Maya. No, stop it, stop it.
I fortunately don't have much of an ear for ADR, which is kind of nice. I know
She always
some
goes
people
up
like.
an octave though in her ADR. She
No,
always
I know
gets
people bring it
hyper-
up all the time, like
hyper dramatic.
It
Like,
doesn't. It
if I
doesn't match
think
with
about
what she's
it-
doing.
If I can think about it, I can tell, but it doesn't bother me. There are things that bother me in film when it happens, right? That's not one of them. So that's one I can get past pretty easily.
It's
the
just-
times I notice ADR are when it like cuts away and they say something, and I'm like, oh, that was added later.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in this case, it's just done like she's yelling. It's like you yell like that if you're right up in the situation, but she's like across the room. So it doesn't like match the intent. You don't yell like that when you're across the room seeing something happen. It's just weird. But the worst ADR this season has been people like expositioning a bad guy dying, where it's like, you're becoming older now. You're becoming older now. You're dying.
You're
You're
300
dying.
years old. Yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
one.
that went on for like 3 minutes.
Speaking of pacing issues,
Oh
That
yeah.
was
How about
another
that
bad episode. Yes.
pacing issues? That 2-minute long rescue of Alan while his air is bleeding out of his spacesuit.
yeah, another time it's like, wait a minute.
That's
When you're out on
very
the surface, you get
slowly.
moon gravity, but inside moon base, you don't get moon
That
gravity.
was also a
well, they-
comment I saw on YouTube. Yeah.
They established a long time ago their gravity towers that make the gravity in Alpha
And they
Earth
pipe
normal.
disco music on the moon surface, like in a theme park.
But I do have to call out appreciation for the Alan's 2-foot drop kick to Maya's back. Like towards
Oh,
the
this
end of
was
the
definitely the
episode.
most Alan got this whole
It's just-
season so far.
That was such a sick move.
I mean, this is
there
basically an
was-
Alan Carter episode since Maya's dumb monsters the whole time.
I don't know if it was that shot, but there was a stunt that was indoors where he felt like he was too tall to do it, and his stunt person like fell over and broke 2 teeth and his collarbone.
Ooh.
I'm not sure which shot it was.
Good
and I
call,
looked
Nick
up the
Tate.
trivia 'cause, yeah, I'm sure he felt very smart after that.
I'm
Probably a
assuming
little
when they're in
bad, too.
spacesuits, they're stuntmen, right? They're not actually
I-
throwing Barbara Bain around the moon.
I would
likes it.
legitimately feel terrible. I would send the stunt person like flowers for a very long time. If
But
that
you would
happened.
also
Yeah,
feel smart still for calling it.
Yeah, some feel smart and kind.
No. Mark, you sent us the freeze frame, which I didn't get this time because it's like whatever.
Oh.
It's just no. But here's the thing: the freeze frame was highly amusing because Barbara Bain spends a literal 5 seconds posing and reposing for the freeze frame while nobody's saying anything.
Well, also the whole context of that. The reason I thought it was amusing was the context of it is that she was passive aggressive and angry. Is that if you look at it like from that context where she's just pissed but smiling, that's what I liked about it.
Okay. Maybe that's what they were trying to convey in the 4 seconds of posing and reposing.
I mean, maybe.
Minnesota nice.
Yeah,
They're
maybe
very
so.
passive aggressively nice.
Yeah, I
It
mean, like,
reminded me of that infamous GIF of Donald Trump where he goes through like 8 different facial expressions in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
yeah, if you can
mean,
manage it.
I mean, I do that, unfortunately. Of ADHD.
Yeah,
I've definitely gotten sometimes where I go through 8 facial expressions posing for a picture and then it ends up the wrong one. But
it's
maybe
the Butters
someday I'll
problem,
figure
right?
it out. Maybe I'll figure it out.
South
Before I
Park
die.
Butters like, stop making that face. You know?
I've a couple of times someone's just been like, "Why are you making that face?" I'm like, "What? I don't know. I'm sorry.
Stop making that face, Mark. What are you doing?
I'm sorry."
Stop
I
it.
can't, I was
Sorry.
born
Stop
with
it.
it.
Stop it
Control
on this
those
audio
facial muscles
podcast.
now.
On this audio podcast, what are you doing? There, I was trying to make him metamorph his face into faces.
Yeah, I unfortunately also love doing that. Yeah, so if you look at that picture, she looks like deeply enraged. You know, I mean, what we're actually supposed to think is that she's so relieved that Koenig's back, but the conversation they have is just him being like, "Well, you must have gotten some relaxation."
Well, they just lied to him. I mean, they have to report this to him. They could have done it then and there if they wanted to. They're going to have to report it when he gets back. He's
I mean,
commanding
okay.
When he
officer.
sees the eagle hanger like in flames still.
Okay, I'm gonna
Where
go
did
around.
eight
in
What
a
did you
eagles
do with
go?
all the eagles, Alan?
I
What
would
did you
give
do with all
each
the
of-
eagles?
I'm gonna give each of you a choice. You can either, would you rather figure out the space warp using an alien computer and all that stuff, or would you rather deal with Maya turning into rubber monsters possibly destroying the moon base.
Well, you do have to add with the space warp guys that you also have to throw in the marooned out into the middle of space concept too.
Of
Existential
course,
dread,
yes, that's part
Mm.
of it. Yes.
Yeah.
marooned
Do
in
I-
space.
Do I personally like Maya?
You don't know. She wasn't really in this episode.
You might
In Mark's
Oh,
scenario.
right.
the thing about Maya is that she we went, this is trivia from ages ago, but she was actually like a countess in it wasn't Germany, but it was somewhere
Oh, the
adjacent
actress.
to Hungary, I think. She was like a Hungarian, but the Nazis took all their stuff, so they just didn't, her family went from like royalty to poverty, and then she worked her way up into, so she has this confidence that is, I find, very alluring. Not everybody's into that, but she has this like kind of party girl confidence that I really enjoy. Usually, as
Again,
dumb
you
as some
didn't
of
you
the
didn't get
episodes
much
are.
of her in this episode, but actually 20 years later she was on the short list to be Catherine Janeway on Voyager.
Yeah, she was like third choice.
And she was in Doctor Who once, City of Death.
It's a hermetically sealed television world out there.
It's one of those things where, you know, just like I compare to Seven of Nine sometimes, where it's very transparent that somebody was trying to shake up the show by
Oh, I
bringing in
definitely
new
got
blood.
7 of 9 vibes when you told
Yeah.
me about her bringing brought in
Mhm.
and stuff.
Yeah, but the thing is that in both cases she's actually good
Mm.
at acting. So
Yeah, 7 of 9's great.
oh yeah, well that's, yeah, she's actually, yeah, okay. Jerry Ryan's another league. She's actually one of the best actors I've ever seen on television. But
Yeah, they kind of
still,
lucked out on that one because since they
Ma-
were obviously going for something else.
Yeah.
yeah, Maya is very good for, she holds up to even a lot of the guest stars in this show.
I think one of the things that just rubs people the wrong way is
Yeah,
the
it's better.
science officer in season 1 is Barry Morris as Victor Bergman, and
Mhm.
Fred Freiberger seemed to be what? No, everyone over 45 is now dead.
Yes. Yes, he did sabotaged every, and you know, Barry Morris was great. He wasn't always given the best material, but he was always great. So
So
I think they
it's
went out
kind
of their way to. I'm sorry. I think they went out of the way to make Catherine look really lovely in this episode, since she was only in the bed the whole thing. So they really did up her
Yeah.
hair and her makeup. She was really on point and looked great, because that's the only time you're going to see her for about 5 minutes of screen
Well,
time.
I'm trying to remember what she did last week, because you have to assume that she just ran off that set onto this one and then back to the other set. What was why can't I remember
Well, you
last
said A
week's
Matter of Balance
episode?
was filmed after this, at the same time as this.
Oh no, same time. It was so that was the same time. So it was a matter of balance. So she was going off and turning into a mouse, I guess. Because that episode wasn't really about her. It was mostly about Peter Sellers' widow.
Shermeen.
Yeah,
Yes.
Shermeen.
So let's go ahead and put our percentages on this one. How much of this is sci-fi fun and how much of it is soft core?
I mean, it's 50-50 to me, because there's an A plot and a B. Okay. No, wait a minute. 60-40 fun, or 60-40 fun hard sci-fi, because there was just more of the Maya plot than there was the space warp plot.
Okay,
The
I
space warp
was
plot
gonna. I was thinking I wasn't thinking A B plot. Again, like
Yeah.
a few weeks ago, and was it the Beta Cloud? Was that? Oh, that was 2 weeks ago. I don't remember anymore. Anyway, yeah.
more than that.
I was like, they're at least trying to put some scientific method into how to deal with a big dumb monster, which they're kind of doing a little bit of that here. So, and then the space warp, of course, has a few dumb things in it as well, but
Yeah.
that makes
I
a
would
little
s-
more sense from a sci-fi concept. So I think I'm cool with that 50-50 split. You said that first myself.
Yeah. I mean, both plots had both plots had some element of dumb and some element of science intermingling.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
Well,
Brian, what's your split on that one?
I have to go at least 50 hard sci-fi, just because of all the tech that's being teched. I mean, they got the whole Eagle hangars, explosion. I mean, it's sort of, and we got to go on the lunar surface, and we got to go into an elevator, which we've never seen before and probably won't see again. Everything is always
Mhm.
travel tubes. Heck, we even got travel tubes that, got broken down and the monster still came rampaging down the tube to attack somebody.
Oh, speaking of which, I love
Um,
when they go out that like somewhat nondescript airlock, and there's a giant what did it say? Surface area
Surface area
7 sign
7.
lit. I assume that light is always lit. I'll
Yes, it's
be
always
I'll
lit.
Yes.
Because you
it
have to know where
probably
you are.
probably lights up when you open the airlock, but
You got
yeah,
to
I
know
was
where
just
you are on the moon when you step
yeah.
outside.
Yeah,
the
because you
areas.
didn't know where you were on the moon base, so
That's what they say. You got to know where you're on the moon when you step out of the airlock. That's what they say.
So for all the effects and everything, I would, and the alien ship and the concept of the space warp, I had to give at least that. But I'd probably also give it like maybe 5% existential dread because
Oh,
they
okay.
were stuck somewhere on the other side of the space warp and maybe would never get home. And the rest of
Yep.
it's just kind of a romp. It's just a romp. It's just all sorts of things are happening, you know, monsters, spaceships, explosions,
I get why Rush used that footage in
moon
their video.
fights on the moon.
Yeah.
Yes, I just
Oh,
remember
I
it
love
being
a
a fun
moon
episode
fight.
to watch.
I guess if you do want to be like, I want to show
mission.
someone what the special effects on the show look like, this is actually not a bad episode to screen.
Yeah.
Luke,
You
you don't
might
like
subtract a
numbers. You can say whatever you
couple
want.
points.
Well, I also have little to compare it to. It felt pretty much. I mean, there was some sci-fi fun. It didn't feel much like there was any softcore porn.
Well,
there are, try some other episodes in the season.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I figured there's a reason you're asking that.
Well, it's usually soft sci-fi, but it somehow morphed into soft.
We got a bunch of really
sci-fi.
dirty episodes.
somehow
And, it morphed into me
I
going
don't know how it
softcore.
happened. Was it the cod pieces? Well, I don't
it
know.
was Matt's
Solarium.
fault. Yeah, it was
The solarium.
Yeah.
This is one of the lowest rated episodes this season, which is
I
kind of
counted it was the
interesting.
seventh worth
Seventh
weighted
worst?
episode. Sorry.
The seventh
Yeah.
left.
Do it
Oh.
like Madeline Kahn if I can. Which is
Seventh
as we learned doing it like what's her name?
Oh
Marlene
yeah,
Dietrich.
Marlene Dietrich.
Anyway,
Now-
I'll give it a 99%. You can choose whichever one if you prefer.
Choose your own
Cool.
adventure.
99%.
99% something.
It's 99% other. There you go.
Okay, cool.
156% pork.
Yeah.
That's what it says on the pepperami.
Yummy.
Moon buggy. Can't forget we got the moon buggy back. A little different of a moon buggy this time. It was yellow. That was fun.
Yeah. I think this is one of two episodes in season 2 with a moon buggy, which is wild because the moon buggy was kind of all over season 1, at least once they introduced
The
it.
lunar, yeah, we go outside a lot more often in season 1 than season 2. That's the other thing. It's I got to
Budgets.
use that set again, the moonscape set, or the
I
Stanley
wrote-
Kubrick 2001 set, if you like to call it that.
No, I wrote fun fact. This was shot on the same set where Kubrick faked the moon landing.
Sorry, I ruined your joke. Yeah, exactly. They just
mean,
discovered a cave on the moon near Tranquility Base, Apollo 11 landing site. They said they found
They
a
found
cave
the mark
there.
of Arcanon in there.
Yeah,
Good.
either Pask and Ettrick are in there, or that's where Stanley stored his gear because he liked to shoot things on location.
Oh yeah, his name wasn't the mark of
Yes.
Arcanon. That's like when you watch Collateral and you call Tom Cruise's character Collateral.
Yep.
Hi, Collateral.
When we recently watched Capernaum, I was going to call that kid Capernaum, and I just forgot to do the joke.
Mm. Yeah, it wasn't a good movie for jokes.
Yeah, not really.
Well, speaking of that, I guess we'll wrap it up for today. If you want to
All
mention
right.
what that is.
So, what is today? Today is Monday.
The first
Wait,
day of the rest of your life.
yes, the first day of the rest of the week, of the rest of your life, of the rest of time. And speaking of time, you can watch Time Enough podcast. Wait, I said watch. What the hell's
You
wrong?
can watch it if you go
You
to
can watch it
YouTube.
on YouTube.
That's true. You can listen to or watch several fine podcasts. You can find it at patreon.com/podcastia, such as Time Enough Podcast, Luke Loves Pokemon, Game Show, Hyrule Field Report, Monster Mash, Films and Filth, the Citizen Kane of podcasts,
Where
Occult
you
Disney.
hear these people speaking. Sometimes
Yes.
Brian too.
Sometimes.
Yes, we're all over Time Enough Podcast and Films and Filth. So if you are into it, if you're into this dynamic, this is your dynamic, you can go right to Films and Filth and listen to us talk about how much we disliked one of everyone's favorite movies of all time, Once Upon a Time in America. And that's
There
a
we
very
go.
special episode because I had to record it on my phone, so I sound like garbage on it too.
And you don't care because you didn't like the movie.
I did not. Yeah, but I had to make it to the podcast because I thought I was the only one who wasn't going to like it, and that everyone else didn't like it too.
And of course, that's the first one you put me on. Thanks.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
welcome.
I
All
was,
right.
I
Well,
was trying to think of a way to spin my camera, but that would involve spinning my laptop. So I'll just scream Space War. Well, okay, Mark
I
can
can
do
do
it.
it.
Good, kind
Mark
of,
can
yeah.
do it.
And Mark can do it. Add some psychedelic filters.
and you know what happens is then my camera will not stay put. And
Right. Okay. Well, that's fine.
now I
'cause
have to hold it, and now
we're
it's
now-
upside down.
Yep. Okay.
All
That's
right.
why I didn't try anything.
Oh, quick. What was your favorite line? Quick.
I
We
don't
only
know
have
if I
seconds.
wrote lines
Favorite
down.
line.
When someone says that was start time 12, this is start time 32, and I was like, start
is that?
time.
Okay.
Start. Oh, here we go. This is the quote I
James
wrote.
Brown.
If there's any chance we can heal you, you'll be all right. Which I was like, that doesn't make you feel very good.
Dude,
I
if
kind
you
of
want,
liked Alan's. Well, you got to do something.
I
Thanks, Alan.
liked,
I'm
I
in
like
charge
both.
now. Do something.
both Alan and the guy on the Eagle just being like, must be a space warp. Like,
Oh,
that's the
yeah,
thing that
that
was
line.
known about.
ridiculous.
They all kind of reached that
Everyone
conclusion
knows.
pretty
Everyone
fast.
immediately knows it's a space warp, which is one of those things that makes me insane in sci-fi.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay, well, I guess it's in the episode now too. So just rewind back to where Mark screwed up his camera, and that's the real end of the episode. That's this podcast warp.
You're gonna make people rewind to this?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, I'll make an actual cut.
I was gonna say, speaking of good lines, have you guys watched Captain America yet?
No.
Oh, I watched the first time. Just
my fucking god.
Luke, I don't think it's a big spoiler, but in this Captain America movie, Captain America is an idiot that fails at everything.
Nice.
It's good though. I loved I enjoyed the movie, but it is like schlocky dumb shit. But like,
Does he fail all the way to the end of the movie?
I don't want to say anymore.
Okay.
Did they
like,
demote him back to Falcon at the end of the movie?
I don't want to yeah.
We'll talk
I
about
don't want to
tomorrow.
spoil anything. It's worth watching, but the president in this movie has a speech that is so goddamn hilarious. Did you get to that part, Matt?
No, I assume I see
I'm
what's
not
about to
spoiling it.
happen, but we haven't gotten there yet.
You'll know exactly what happens when it happens, and
I
you
know
will
why
laugh.
it's happening already, but yeah.
It's very funny. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to talk about.
Okay, I will hit the record. So